Hello everybody and welcome back to NCAA 2005 in the Idaho Vandals Dynasty mode in the final game of year number 7 against the Colorado State Rams out of the Mountain West Conference. I think the only time we've played Colorado State in the series up to this point. But they're coming off of a win to get into this bowl game here and finish only playing 11 games, week. But we are finishing on a 3-game tear, beating Arizona, who was at the top of the conference, presumably at one point when we did play them, Temple and Kent State to get where we are now and get back into the top 25, even if we are hanging on to the 25th spot. But again, we all know what happens when we re-enter the rankings. It seems to be a yo-yoing effect all season long. Even extending back to last year, I think we struggled with that as well. But we've made it to the Emerald Bowl. I think this is our third or fourth straight different bowl game that we've had. We've played in the Silicon Valley Classic. We've played in the New Orleans Bowl. Now in the Emerald Bowl. It's been a very different. It's been a different bowl game pretty much every year, which is fun. I think that's a lot of fun. That's what's fun about playing in these kind of smaller conferences. I mean, now we're in the Pac-10, so we get access to different bowl games. And because of our conference record, we actually sit kind of far down in the Pac-10. So they probably had to fight to find a spot for us even in the bowl situation because we finished 8-4, so it's not like, they're going to leave us out of a bowl here, but we might have finished, 5th or 6th in the Pac-10 this year. So, it's a very weird year. The Pac-10's always weird. You always have a lot of teams in the Pac-10 that do well in conference, but do bad out of conference. So the standings always get messed up. But looking ahead to the game today, man, we might as well talk about just some stats and stuff because, man, we've had some very, very impressive stats going on around the roster. We finally have Keith Bridges back, even though Sierra Madison did a fantastic game last week. Against Kent State. A fantastic game. We finally have Keith Bridges healthy again. No Marcus Donnelly because he is still injured, of course, for the year. And then no Doug Nolan because he's now injured for the rest of the season. So we're down a couple of guys here, but we still have a good enough team to compete against the Rams here. Colorado State also has an interesting situation at quarterback. I didn't look at the roster before the game started, so I can't see the injuries, but I believe their starting quarterback is injured because they have a quarterback who's thrown for 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns, but he is not the one who's playing. They have a backup quarterback who's 10 overall points lower, who is currently the starter for the Rams. And as you can see, he's wasting no time getting the Rams offense moving here as he hits LaMarcus McKenzie, the top receiver on the Rams depth chart. Who's a junior. He hits him on the left side of the field along the sideline here in a little bit mess of coverage, but not an issue for McKenzie to hold that one down. So 1st and 10 now for the Rams, and they're going to hand it off to the Mountain West Conference second team all player here. Jackie Holland, who is a senior here, and he's one of the best players on this team. He might be the best player. He's a 96 overall. He's a very good running back. So, 1st and goal for the Rams, and they're going to go with the fullback dive. Benji Magnum, amazing name, by the way. They're going to go with the fullback dive to Benji Magnum to get into the end zone and cap off this big opening drive for the Rams. So we can't do much with the football, so Colorado State back on offense once again on their own end, but Holland's going to change that as he gets across midfield, gets a first down, and then gets brought down at about the Idaho 39, but there is a flag on the field, so pause everything while we look at what the Yellow Hankies for, and it's going to be a face mask. So we are going to have, unfortunately, we're going to give 5 more yards to Colorado State as Broderick Ryan, our starting strong safety, got a little bit too much of the face mask on the tackle, taking Holland out of bounds. So fast forward to a 2nd and 6 now inside the 30, and Lee's going to fake the handoff to Holland, and he's going to fire it across the middle to McKenzie for another first down, and that'll get the Rams inside the Idaho 25. As Lee was able to fire this one to Colorado's top receiver across the middle. So fast forward to a 2nd and 10 just outside of the red zone here at the Idaho 21, and they're going to go back to Holland, who's got plenty of space, following some good blocks in front of him, tries to spin into some open space, but can't quite break free. But either way, he's going to have enough for the first down, and he's going to continue moving the Rams closer and closer to the end zone. So fast forward to 2nd and 7 inside the 10 here. They can still get the first down, but not the touchdown. But Holland's going to get both, and he's going to get tackled into the end zone for another Colorado State touchdown. But his first of the game, and that's going to be touchdown number 7, I believe, for him. Again, I didn't write down the stats before I recorded the game, so I'm trying to do mental math while we watch this one. But finally, we're going to get some action from the Idaho offense as Chester lays one up here to Roderick Williams, I believe, and he's going to be off to the races here, leading the caravan to the end zone, and no one's going to catch him as he's going to get into the end zone for the first touchdown for the Vandals today here in bowl season. So we're finally going to get on the board here with a nice huge touchdown pass from Chester. In Chester, some interesting things we're looking at here. Both Roderick Williams and Chester kind of playing for some milestones. Roderick Williams is trying to get over that 1,000 mark. He comes into this game with over 700 yards on the day here. In Chester with 3,700 yards. So both players could potentially reach those big milestones if they could get them. But Lee is looking for a huge one himself, and it's essentially just going to be an arm punt as he lays this one out here. Absolutely bombs that pass downfield on a third and very, very long. And it's just a prime arm punt. That's really all it was just an arm punt. And maybe we can see exactly who came down with it. I can't quite see the number, but maybe from this angle we'll get a better look at it as we get our first turnover of the game. And so we're going to be able to take over on our own end, but we couldn't do much with it, so we have to give Colorado State the ball back. They work it back into midfield, but Lee is going to find another defender, and it's Jeff Williams, who had an interception in the last game as well. I think he also had either a recovered fumble or a forced fumble. I can't remember exactly, but Jeff Williams was everywhere last game after getting injured briefly for a few plays, and he gets himself another interception in this game, getting involved early. So the first quarter comes to a close. Very theatric first quarter comes to a close with the Colorado State Rams still leading by 7 points. But we are on the move now at about midfield, but on a 3rd and 12. Chester back to pass here. Fires one across the middle, and that pass is going to be caught by a brand new face on the roster. And that's going to be Wesley Bratton, who's basically receiver number 5, I think, like 4 or 5. He's receiver number 5 because I guess Doug Nolan would be, 5, but or 4. And Wesley Bratton is going to be receiver number 5 on the roster here, and he's finally involved in the game here because of the injuries that we have, which is good to see, man. He was a 2-star recruit that we got at the end of year number 5, who was redshirted last year, and so he wasn't on the field at all, but he's playing this year. He's listed on the depth chart here, and he has himself a reception as we move closer and closer to the end zone. But on 3rd and 11, Chester floats one out, and that pass is going to be broken up as he throws that ball into a whole web of coverage. Nothing really open there, so we're going to have to bring out Lewis, the kicker, to try and nail home, or Jeff Dennis, the kicker. We're going to have to bring him out to try and nail this one through, to try and get closer to Colorado State's lead, and we managed to do that. So 14-10 now the score, and we are back with the football as the Rams offense starting to struggle here, but the defense isn't missing a step here as they're going to pick off Ross Chester, and that is just his 14th interception of the year. And if you're curious how bad that makes his split, I mean, he still has about 20 more touchdowns than picks. So it's a bad pick to throw here for Chester, especially when we're already down, but he's been having a good year protecting the football, so I can't really hate on him. But Lee's going to waste no time getting that ball out to Lamarcus McKenzie, and he's going to get into the end zone for another Colorado State touchdown. So that mistake from Chester immediately turns into points for the Rams, as they are now going to pad their lead just a little bit here and expand the deficit just a little bit wider, up back to 11 points. So 3rd and 10 here for the Vandals. Chester steps up in the pocket here under pressure and unloads and gets rid of it, and that pass is going to be caught. And now running upfield inside the 40. Going to maybe see who it was. I can't tell. It looks like a build of like Stuart Malone, but it could have been Keith Bridges. And maybe if we get a replay, we'll get a better look at it. And actually I think it was Bam Blanks, the tight end, I believe. I think that's exactly who that was Bam Blanks. So good play from the tight end position here, and that's going to get us across midfield. Now Chester, again, under pressure, gets rid of it just in time, and that catch is going to be made all the way out there by Wesley Bratton. And we're going to have an injured Ram on the field here. Time is going to stop. It's going to be our timeout. We didn't call one, Colorado State didn't call one. We did, because now we are under a minute trying to get into the end zone. Chester takes a half step back here and floats one out into the back of the end zone, and that catch is going to be made for an Idaho touchdown. And we might get another look. We are going to get another look because this game loves to throw us a little bit of replays. And I think it's Bam Blanks again. So Bam Blanks, huge drive from Bam Blanks here. I believe it was Bam Blanks. I think it is. So 17-21 now, the score here in the last 20 seconds of the second quarter. And we have an opportunity again to get some points. Chester with a bomb downfield, looking for someone open. And he finds someone. It's Wesley Bratton into the end zone. And Bratton continues his Cinderella story here in the final game of the season, showing up in place of Doug Nolan and just completely replacing that role as our little gadgety, toolsy receiver here down the seam. He's been really effective in that area so far today, and he's already got a few receptions for probably well over 100 yards, and you wouldn't expect that out of a guy like that, who again, really didn't indicate much from us when we recruited him. It was just receiver depth when I grabbed him. He's only a 2-star, and he's a homegrown talent from Gooding, Idaho. So, I didn't expect a whole lot, but he's really shown up here. So, on the opening kickoff here after the conclusion of the first half, Colorado State's going to fumble. I think it's Lamarcus McKenzie returning kicks, and he's going to fumble the opening kickoff, and we're going to recover it deep in the Rams territory. So, already going to get gifted with a nice offensive opportunity to start the second half of play here, with finding ourselves 4 points ahead of Colorado State. So we are in the driver's seat right now. Chester going to fake the handoff, and he goes to the left side of the field, I believe over to Williams' side once again, and we are just kind of attacking that same side of the field, as Roderick Williams is getting himself involved in this game as well, hoping to have a big game from him. And so on 3rd and 5 here, Chester back to pass, trying to get into the end zone, and he finally manages to break through and get in there as the Rams defense had our backs against the wall, and we were down to our last opportunity or two before we had to rely on Dennis to nail a field goal through. But fortunately, Chester able to find an open receiver in the back of the end zone, and that's going to be another Idaho Vandals touchdown. It might have been Broderick Black, and it was, man. It was Broderick Black. I'm getting my tight ends from series confused. It was Bam Blanks. Broderick Black is from the Bama series, but Bam Blanks gets himself another touchdown in this game. He's been very, very effective, interesting enough. But now Colorado State is finally moving the football here. They're finally back on offense, and they got some work to do here. But on 3rd and 7, Lee goes for the receiver screen to McKenzie, and McKenzie's got open space here inside the 20. He's going to get brought down at about the Idaho 15. And there you see, on the receiving breakdown, McKenzie has just been everywhere for the Rams offense. That's been one part we haven't been able to really silence. But Holland is finally getting back involved here, bouncing off of potential tacklers, and he gets a first down here. Doesn't get inside the end zone, but he does get a first down. And now the Rams are looking with goal to go here to try and punch this one in. Just a few more yards to get in, and Lee's going to drop back to pass, and he's going to flip this one out quickly across the middle, and it looks like he might have hit their tight end. I think maybe Ricky Crowell, I think, might have been who hauled that one in. I guess we might get another look, but I believe it's Crowell, the tight end. So Colorado State finally going to answer back here to the Vandals after a few minutes of us kind of hanging on to things. But now we are moving once again, and you wouldn't believe it. It's Wesley Bratton again making a completion and picking up about another 10 yards after the fact. And look at that passing breakdown, man. We are just being really effective, and Chester right now I think might already have enough to crack that 4,000-yard mark, and he would be the first Idaho quarterback to do it. I went back and looked at Matt Norwood's stats, and where Ross Chester was heading into the bowl game is where Matt Norwood finished. So Chester's basically finishing a game better than Norwood would. So But Keith Bridges, we're finally going to call his name in this game here as he gets to the outside edge and gets a nice pickup on the ground, and there you see his breakdown for the year. Basically, it's far from where he was in his sophomore season, because his junior season was a huge fall off, if you remember. His sophomore season was his best year, but touchdown-wise, this is his best year. He's never had more than, I think, 5 touchdowns, and he's got 7 in this season, so he's having himself a decent year, and Roderick Williams and Ross Chester continue to also have effective years here as another touchdown goes our way. And then on the next Colorado State drive, Lee is going to find Philip Tolbert, who makes the interception. He's going to be injured on that play, and that is going to end Philip Tolbert's season, guys. Singular guy, guys. He would break his ribs, and he's going to be out for the remainder of this game, obviously, and of course, into the offseason. So, but we are going to take over on offense. We will not let his sacrifice be in vain, as Keith Bridges gets a nice pickup here. So 1st and goal at about the 6 or 7 yard line. Chester floats one into the end zone, and that pass is going to be caught in the end zone for another Idaho touchdown. And we have really just kind of broken things open here in the Emerald Bowl, as Colorado State's starting to just mount a couple of mistakes here and really kind of losing the possession game, as we take a 45-28 point lead at the end of the 3rd quarter. So things are not over by a long shot. There's still a whole another quarter, but we find ourselves really in a great spot against the Rams. But Lamarcus McKenzie will not stay silent for long, as he gets another completion that'll bring the Rams inside the Idaho 20 once again. So another scoring opportunity for the Rams potentially, if they can, capitalize on the drive. So from about the 18 of Idaho, lead back to pass here. He's going to float one out towards the side of the field, and that pass is going to be caught right at the goal line. I have no idea how that wasn't a touchdown, but it's going to be caught right at the goal line. I think it was Chris Young, the second receiver on this depth chart here, but he's going to make that catch. Kind of a difficult catch to make here, just right out there, kind of a jump ball. He kind of put it exactly where he had to, so good pass and good completion. So on 1st and goal, they're going to go back to Benji Magnum, the fullback, and he's going to get into the end zone for his second touchdown of the day. Basically, he's kind of being a touchdown goblin, robbing Holland of all his potential points that he could be scoring. So Colorado State comes back within 10 points, and now we can't do anything with the football. So now Colorado State's back on offense, and Holland is making guys miss once again here, really attacking that middle portion of the field here with a lot of his fancy spin moves and just juke moves in general. So another first down for Colorado State, but our defense is finally applying some pressure. So on third down, and Leash is going to take the check down to Holland right in front of him, but Holland cannot get back or cannot get to the line to gain. So that's going to bring a fourth down for Colorado State. A decision to be made, down 10 here late in this game, and they're going to keep the offense on the field for a 4th and 1. Lee's going to hand this one off to Holland right up the middle, and he's going to get the first down a little bit more. And there you can see the rushing breakdown is really kind of the big difference maker right now in this game. We are passing a lot more effectively, but Colorado State's running more effectively. So the big difference here. And Benji Magnum continues his MVP caliber day, as this time he gets another touchdown, but it's not simply just a goal to go, just run up the middle 1-yard touchdown. He actually gets a 7-yard run, relying on some blocks here to get into the end zone, and now Colorado State back within 3 points. So quickly it becomes a one-possession game, and with just under 2 minutes left to go, we really need to get a first down or two to ice the game if at all possible, and we do manage to get that first down, but now Colorado State, with all their timeouts, are going to be able to stop us. So letting time expire under 40 seconds, and on 3rd and 5, Chester trying to throw for it and win this one on offense, and he cannot get that ball through the line. So it's going to be 4th down with 36 seconds. Bring out Dennis here to try and nail home a field goal to make it 6 points. And he manages to do that. So if Colorado State were to score, they could potentially win the game with an extra point. So we're only up here by 6 points. And so on the opening kickoff, or on the ensuing kickoff, following that field goal, Landrum, our punter, is going to send this one out of bounds. He's going to kick it out of bounds. And so that is going to put Colorado State in opportune field position to try and get into the end zone if they can. So from their own 35 now, Lee, back to pass here, plenty of time, steps up in the pocket, and just rips one across the middle of the field. That pass is going to be completed, I believe, again by Chris Young, and that's going to be a nice pickup for Colorado State as they now find themselves in Idaho territory looking to potentially get into the end zone and win this game, but they have no timeout, so time is of the essence. They got to get back up to the line here. Only 20 seconds left to go in the game here, wasting time trying to get set back up here. We are all ready for him. So in 15 seconds left to go, Lee runs out, scrambles out of the pocket here, looking for an option here, runs out of time, but gets rid of it, and that pass is going to be completed by LaMarcus McKenzie once again. But now under 10 seconds, the clock is going to stop while the referees try to set the ball here, set the chains, and they're going to do it. So time expiring. This is the last play of the game here. Lee dumps one off here down towards the side, and that pass is going to be completed along the sideline inside the 5, but there's a flag on the play. The clock's at 000, but there's a flag on the play, and one of our players did not get back on side in time. So it's going to be an offside penalty that's going to move up Colorado State, and they're going to have an untimed down with 0 seconds on the clock. So Colorado State has one play left to get into the end zone if at all possible. Lee, back to pass here, fires it off quickly and wide open, all alone in the end zone, and it is Chris Young, and Colorado State is going to tie the ball game in the very final play of the game. I guess technically the final play of the game, since they still do need to kick the extra point to see if they're going to win the game, but Colorado State is going to tie things up here in the Emerald Bowl on the very last play. So 48-48, and the kick is up, and it is good, and Colorado State is going to win the Emerald Bowl by a single point after marching down the field in just 4 plays and a matter of 30 or so seconds to win the ball game, and we drop another bowl game in the Lynch era. Man, oh man, you cannot make this stuff up, man. So a huge, this is like a Raiders game. This is literally like from the Raiders series, straight out of that. We managed to lose a bowl game here. Kind of a huge undoing for Lynch and this team after such a great kind of performance from a couple of our key players and just a solid performance from a team that I can only foresee really getting worse because of the sanctions that we have. It's very concerning. This is a huge boost that we really needed for the program to keep things kind of going our way, maybe help us get a boost in recruiting. But now with this loss, I'm kind of concerned about where the team is headed following this season now. So we're going to move ahead, I guess, and I'm going to float this out to you guys as I let the stats kind of play over on the screen. if you guys think the series should continue. So, I'm really trying to change my structure with uploads and how I upload content, and I'm going to put an update at some point closer to my anniversary, which is in June or July, and kind of talk about all this. But I have 3 series running right now, and one of them I think needs to go in order to kind of wean into the new upload schedule I'm trying to get to. With that being said, I don't know which one, either the Raiders or Idaho. I want to finish the Bama series regardless. I'm going to do that. But between the Raiders and Idaho series, I think one of them needs to go. But if you guys like the Idaho series and you guys want to continue to see this series get uploaded through the summer and then probably stop when the new football season comes, we can do that. I'll continue to upload all 3 series and stuff, but I just wanted to give you guys the chance because I've canceled series in the past that I didn't think people really liked or cared about, and then people later asked about them. So I'm not going to cancel series that people are still watching it and enjoying. So if you guys like the Idaho series, I will continue doing it, but if you guys aren't super particular to it, then it'll probably end. So, but with that, we come to the coaching offers, and Cal, out of our own conference, wants us to coach them after a 6-6 season. So it looks like they have a really solid roster, but yeah, it might just be a coaching situation, not getting the full potential out of that team. But Georgia, coming off an SEC championship season, going 8-5. Wow, interesting compared to our Bama series. But after winning the SEC, they're going to make a coaching change, and their roster is a little bit worse than Cal's is from just, the optics on screen. But they are SEC champions, so that might be a better option. But we are going to decline them, of course, because we're sticking with Idaho. I wish I would have chosen another job at the end of last year with the sanctions. It would have made a little bit more sense, but we'll leave it where it is. But Wake Forest is your national champions, but we will talk about all this. And again, make sure you guys let me know whether you want to see the Idaho series continue or not, but we'll probably do an off-season video. So hope to see you guys in the next one.